video is kind of a request. I asked you guys what you would like to see more of this on this channel, and this is one of the topics that you wanted me to talk about, so here it is. I'm just going to talk about my experience, and I do actually have a couple of questions from you guys that I'll be answering at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Don't know what that was. So for those of you that don't know, I have 2 children. They are just under 13 months apart, and they are currently 2. My eldest April is 2.5 and my youngest Cooper is 1.5. Obviously they are both still very young and I still have a lot of experiences to experience. But I just wanted to share with you my experience so far of having 2 children so close together. And I do kind of want to break it up into 2 parts, because the first part I want to talk about is being pregnant while you still have such a young baby to take care of. So when I first found out I was pregnant, April was around about, I want to say 4 months old. It's pregnant. You're gonna have a little brother or sister already. It was definitely a shock. It was not planned. And April was obviously still very highly dependent on me, so it was just a lot to all of a sudden be pregnant and going through all of these major hormones again. I hadn't even gotten over the hormones from the last pregnancy, and all of a sudden I was just thrown all these hormones again. So I just wanted to highlight one good and one bad thing about that experience for myself. So the good thing being was that because April was so young during that experience, she had absolutely no idea what was going on, and it made it easier because it was just normal for her to have mummy needing to rest on the couch for a little bit, and she was okay with that because that was just what mummy did. She is actually a very independent little girl now, and from a young age she's always been fairly independent. She is fine to play by herself. I used to be able to just put her down with some toys, sit on the couch myself while watching her, and she would literally just play with her toys by herself. But it wasn't obviously all the time. It was just an option if I was feeling run down with the pregnancy and I just needed a bit of a break. Because of this as well, she is also very easily left with other people. She finds it easy to transition from being with us to being with other people. She's stayed at other people's houses from a very young age as well, so she can sleep well in most situations. I'm actually really happy that she's turned out so independent, because it makes things so much easier for us in the long run. It does make a few things a bit hard because she's very strong-willed and independent, which is, it's a lot. But yes, I believe that the whole experience of me being pregnant, basically her first full year of life, has impacted that side of her personality. So talking about the negative experience, it was a lot emotionally, physically, mentally, all of that. I actually had a mental breakdown when I was about 8 or 9 weeks pregnant. At this stage nobody knew I was pregnant because I hadn't told anyone yet apart from Ray. A lot of the people around me just assumed that the reason I had the mental breakdown was because I was suffering from postpartum depression. And to be honest, I was. Like, I had a lot of postpartum depression just before I fell pregnant, so I know that was part of it. But obviously my body was going through all of these changes again, and it just heightened all of those feelings. I had a lot of guilt about this because I felt like I wasn't being the mother I was supposed to be for my child, who was only 6 months or 7 months at the time, which retrospectively I actually did. She definitely doesn't feel unloved. We do have a bond. It's amazing what you can do to yourself when you feel that emotionally run down, and how much you can beat yourself up. So I guess my advice for anyone that is going to be pregnant so soon after having a baby, tell the people you feel closest to. That was probably my #1 mistake, is I didn't tell anyone, because I felt very ashamed, for one, of being pregnant so soon because we weren't planning it. So I would definitely communicate it with people you feel comfortable with, just so they're aware of how you're feeling and what you're going through. And just allow yourself that space, because it will all work out in the end. You're not going to be pregnant for the whole of your child's life, and you're still going to bond with that child. Alright, so moving on to when I actually gave birth to my second child. April had only just turned 1 at this stage. So the good part was that because she was so young, she didn't really have the ability or knowledge to experience jealousy in a lot of ways. She never became clingy to us. There were times that she would be jealous. For the most part, she was used to just playing by herself while mummy sat on the couch for a little bit. So it kind of worked in that way. She also had her own life, which was separate from the baby's life. She was going to daycare at that stage, and she was visiting her grandparents as well, so she was still getting that one-on-one time with a parental figure that I couldn't always give her. And of course my husband was there, so he was giving her the attention when I couldn't. So I don't think she really ever missed out, because she just felt like it was, again, normal. Also, if we fast forward to the time when Cooper was actually sitting up and playing by himself, it was really good because April at this stage was really interested and invested in babies and had her own baby that she used to play with and take care of. So she was actually really quite nurturing. There were times when she would just whack him in the face, but she was still really gentle for the most part. So the bad part is that it was very, 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 very rough physically and emotionally. When Ray returned to work, I honestly just felt like it was never going to work. This is exhausting. Like, I honestly don't understand how people do it. I don't understand, like, how I'm completely and utterly wrecked. I don't really know how I got through it, and to be honest, I didn't really, because most of the time I would emotionally text Ray while he was at work, or I would call him in a flood of tears and panic attacks, or I just would be constantly talking to people like, hey, can we come and see you, because I don't want to stay at home because it's really killing me to be here. At that stage, like when Cooper was literally just like a newborn, April was only just starting to crawl, so she wasn't walking yet, and she was only just starting to cruise around tables and stuff as well. So she was at that stage of life where you kind of had to watch her because she would get into things and fall over, and of course she still needed to be carried everywhere. And because I had Cooper, who obviously needed to be carried everywhere, anytime we would leave the house or go out anywhere, it was just very physically demanding. So pretty much at this stage I was always carrying a baby, feeding a baby, changing a baby, cuddling a baby. Thank goodness she was a good sleeper. She had her moments, don't get me wrong, every kid does. For the most part though, I could just rely on her going to sleep. When Cooper was going through all of his sleep transitions though, that made things a lot harder. Sleep is just one of those things, they were never coordinated. So basically, like, Cooper would sleep, you know, 3 or 4 times a day, but it would always be the times when April was awake. So I always had one of them awake, and that lasted probably about 8, 9, 10 months. Like, just when Cooper would go to 2 sleeps, April would turn to 1, and then just when Cooper was on 1 sleep, April started to almost not have that sleep anymore. So they never lined up. I was always kind of an overthinker anyway, and an organizer in my head, but once you've got 2 young children that rely on you so heavily, you kind of become like, you go into overdrive. Anyway, that's kind of enough of story time from me. I'm actually going to answer a few of your questions, so let's get started. So Jackie on Instagram asked, what was harder, the transition from 0 to 1 or from 1 to 2? Kind of a cheesy answer, but they were both easy and hard in different ways. Retrospectively, I really feel like going back to myself when I just had April and just saying, chill out. But I didn't know that at the time. I had just gone from being this independent, carefree woman to all of a sudden being the sole caretaker of this tiny being 24/7. So obviously that's going to have an impact on your whole being. Going from 1 to 2 honestly felt easier than I thought it was going to feel. It just felt natural because we literally just done it. So it was just like we continued on doing it, and we were very, very, very prepared. We knew exactly how to handle it in terms of how to coordinate our sleep. So both of us got, you know, good chunks of sleep while he was very, very new. And also we were very good at communicating by this stage, Ray and I, this is, because we knew what each other needed in order to get through it. Particularly myself, because I was very, very worried of becoming obviously quite depressed again. So we were just on top of all of that. It was obviously hard though in a lot of ways, because having 2 kids, going from 1 kid to 2 kids is a game changer. Like, I know you hear that probably all the time, but it literally is a game changer. You don't know what hits you until you have 2 little tiny human beings with you all the time, constantly needing you, constantly dependent on you, particularly when the eldest one is still a baby. So it's a lot. I feel like it'd be like having twins, but probably not as hard as having twins, but it's very similar because you still have that dependence from both kids. So yeah, I guess to wrap up the question is both of them were hard and easy in different ways. Jessica asked, how did you ensure both babies got mama's attention? I feel like most of the time my focus was just on keeping them both alive. I would just be like, keep them alive, keep them fed, and put them to bed. That's kind of what my life was like for a while. With Cooper though, I was very, very, very lucky because we were in the position to have the ability to put April in daycare, and that really, really helped those early stages of my bond with Cooper. I got to spend that one-on-one time with him and really, you know, witness his growth. April was more difficult to have that one-on-one time with. I think I'm always going to have that slight bit of guilt because her whole childhood from a very, very young age is just me being pregnant or having a newborn. I guess because Cooper sleeps a lot, I do have a lot of one-on-one time with April because she'll be awake while Cooper's asleep most of the time. Sometimes she does have a sleep, but most of the time she's awake. We are planning on doing more of a like mummy, daddy, daughter, son outing calendar so that we have that one-on-one time, each of us, with the kids as they grow up. It's definitely something that I think is important, to have that one-on-one time with each of them as they grow up and make sure that they both feel, you know, special and appreciated by both of us individually. So yeah, that's something that I'm definitely planning in the near future. So I may post an update about how that all goes. Kirsten asked, Kirsten, I'm very sorry if I'm saying that wrong. What was the hardest thing and what was the best thing about having two close in age? It's kind of hard to narrow down, and I guess I've already talked about it a bit. You just feel like you never have enough time, but you also feel like time goes so slow. Taking care of your kids as well as the household tasks, doing chores, cleaning up, all of that sort of thing, cooking, preparing meals. I'm generally always in my head thinking 2 or 3 or 4 steps ahead. So yeah, time is definitely one of the hardest things. The best thing, and I'm sure you've probably heard this from a lot of parents with 2 kids, and that is seeing the sibling bond. Your heart feels so full, is the feeling I get every single time I see my 2 kids playing together, laughing together, smiling together, giving each other a cuddle or a kiss, or hearing them talk together now that Cooper is starting to sort of talk a bit more. Knowing that they've got each other is just, it just makes me really, really happy. Yes, it's annoying to have to break up a fight every 5 seconds.
In the bin?
Yeah, that wasn't nice, April. But in the long run, I know it'll be beneficial for them to both have that kind of best friend throughout their whole life. And because they are so close in age, a lot of their interests are actually the same. So whenever we go anywhere, they're interested in the same thing. They don't separate, so they play a lot together. Tess asked, do you do one-on-one activities with each child or just all together? I kind of already answered this with Jessica's question, but yeah, both. Most of the time it's all together just because that's easier. It makes sense to kind of experience things as a family at this stage. I feel like the attention has shifted now that they're both older. I do tend to interact more with April because she's older and kind of demands a lot of that attention. So I do want to spend more one-on-one time with Cooper. Megan asked, I would love to know how on earth you find me time, or if that's even a possibility. It becomes kind of less glamorous when you have to schedule me time, I guess. You kind of have to almost plan that, and then obviously things could just fall apart. So like you could say, I'm gonna have a bath tonight, and then one of the kids has a struggle going to sleep, and it's not until like 9:30, 10 o'clock that you're both able to rest, so you're like, oh, it's too late to have a bath. Honestly, I am probably one of the luckiest mothers out there because I have such a good support system with my husband and my extended family, like grandparents for the kids. I have the opportunity to literally tell my husband I need a break, and it will happen because we both understand what mental health means in a family setting, and we both understand what me time does for you to bring you back to kind of that feeling of, oh, okay, I can handle life again. So because we've communicated so much about that in the past, and so much has happened to particularly me in the past, it's definitely set us up for a good level of communication regarding having me time or self-care time when it's needed. And because we have such great grandparents, we can literally call them up, you know, the week of and say, hey, can you look after the kids this week? And most of the time it's a yes. So I feel extremely, extremely grateful and lucky that I have that in my life. But even without that, it's literally all about communication. If you need me time, you need to tell someone that you need me time. Both Ray and I are very, very open about when we feel burnt out, and that's the main reason why we have the ability to organize that self-care me time. Also, I just want to say, please do not feel guilty for wanting or needing me time. Every single human being needs to be alone and take care of themselves. It's part of your human instinct. And as a mother, you are literally go, 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 go all the time. So it's natural for you to just want to go, every once in a while, just to breathe, really. And if you don't have the resources to step away from the situation, don't feel guilty about putting on a movie, laying out a platter of snacks, and laying on the couch while your kids eat and watch a movie. It's not going to kill them. It's not going to ruin their lives for you to take that time to just relax, lay down on the couch, play on your phone, or stare into space, or read a book, or whatever makes you feel relaxed. It is completely and utterly acceptable and granted, considering how much you do all the time as a mother. And as a father, let's be real, Ray does so much all the time, and it's completely granted for him to just want to chill out once in a while. That's where I'm going to end the video. Thank you so much for suggesting this topic. I've had a lot of fun talking about it. I could probably go on for hours about it. And thank you so much for all of your questions. I hope you enjoyed the answers. If you want to see more videos like this, give the video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe and hit that bell. And I'll see you guys all next time. Bye!